What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. You guys, this is video number 20. And before I start today, I just want to give you guys a big thank you very much for your continued support. Every single time you subscribe, every single time you like, every single time you weigh in on the comments, it just means so much to me. My channel's growth is probably going to be a slow one, and you know what? I'm okay with that because I plan on being here for the long haul. But I just want to let you know that everything you do to support this humble YouTuber and his burgeoning channel, it just means so much to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. There's my heart. There's the heart right there. There's the heart. All right. With all that mushy stuff out of the way, let's talk about today's case. So at the time of this recording, today's case happened exactly 5 years ago today. 5 years ago from this very moment. So with that memorial in mind, allow me to go over the details of what took place. The day is Monday, February 13th, 2017. The song Bad and Bougie by rap trio Migos featuring Lil Uzi Vert is #1 on the Billboard charts. The film, the Lego Batman movie, starring the voices of Will Arnett, Zach Galifianakis, and Michael Cera, is #1 at the box office. And just this morning, Kim Jong-nam, the estranged half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, was assassinated by 2 unknown females at Kuala Lumpur International Airport 2 in the country of Malaysia. Far across the globe in Deer Creek Township, Indiana, 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German have a rare weekday off from school and decide to lavish the holiday in the great outdoors of the Hoosier State. The girls are your typical American teenagers. They spend the afternoon posting photos of each other to their various social media. All is well on that lazy Monday, but when one of the girls' fathers arrives to pick them up later in the afternoon, Abigail and Liberty never show up to the rendezvous. This day in mystery. Monday, February 13th, 2017, in Deer Creek Township, Indiana, is cloudy and mild. With a daytime high of 6 degrees Celsius, the weather lingers in winter but hints at spring. Abigail Joyce Williams is an 8th grader at Delphi Community Middle School. Affectionately referred to as Abby, the 13-year-old has a huge heart and loves soccer and hanging out with friends. One of those friends is fellow 8th grader Liberty German. Liberty Rose Lynn German also attends Delphi Community Middle School and also goes by a shortened name. Known to friends and family as Libby, the 14-year-old with the earnest smile loves playing softball and spending time with her family. Monday, February 13th, is a snow makeup day in the town of Delphi. This means that the winter has been unusually mild that semester, and the school board hasn't had to cancel nearly any classes as a result of snow. As such, they make the weekend a long one and give all the students the Monday off. Abby spends Sunday night sleeping over at Libby's house. On Monday morning, the two are still in bed at 10 a.m. When the two finally do wake up, the weather is unseasonably mild, and wanting to take advantage of the informal holiday and the warm weather, they plan to explore the great outdoors. Libby's 17-year-old sister Kelsey is getting ready for work in the family's upstairs bathroom. Libby asks her big sister for a ride into town later. Kelsey says she can drive her there, but won't be able to pick her up. So Kelsey tells Libby that if her grandmother gives her permission for the excursion and their father is willing to pick her up, she will drive her into town. Both concessions are established, and with adventure on their mind, the two girls are dropped off on County Road 300 North, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway at 1:35 p.m. Abby and Libby thank Kelsey for the ride and depart the vehicle for the nearby forest. In the woods, a large wooden structure called the Monon High Bridge stands. At 63 feet tall, the now abandoned expanse is the state's second largest bridge. The two girls traverse the overpass, taking in the nature of their surroundings as they delve further into the brush. At 2:07 p.m., Libby posts a photo to her Snapchat of Abby on Monon High Bridge. At 3:15 p.m., Libby's father, Derek German, arrives to pick up the girls. Derek has arranged to pick up Libby and Abby at 3:15 p.m. sharp. His daughter is usually courteous with her timing, and Derek is surprised when no one arrives at the prearranged pickup location to meet him. He calls his daughter's phone from his vehicle, but no one answers. After getting no response, he calls his other daughter, Libby's sister, Kelsey. He confirms the pickup time and location with Kelsey and tells her that nobody but himself is there. He also tells her that Libby is not answering the phone and he is starting to worry. Kelsey doesn't know where the girls are and is also worried about the usually prompt teenagers' whereabouts. Derek gets out of his vehicle and heads for the nearby trails in a better effort to find his daughter and her friend. He shouts for Libby and Abby as he walks, but the trail is uninhabited. With panic setting in, Derek calls the police and officially reports Abigail Williams and Liberty German missing. With darkness falling, police arrive and splinter out to search the beaten path around the bridge. Family, friends, and volunteers hear about the missing teenagers from Delphi and come together to join in on the search. The collective canvasses out and searches the tiny town extensively. With the dark now upon them, the warmth of the day is long gone. A police official makes the controversial decision to temporarily suspend the search until the morning. At 10 a.m. on February 14th, the search resumes with over 300 volunteers. Just before noon on February 14th, less than a kilometer east of the Monon High Bridge, on the north bank of Deer Creek, a volunteer finds Abby Williams and Liberty German. The girls are dead. The police do not reveal their manner of death. The search for Abby and Libby has come to a sad resolution, but the search for their killer is just beginning. Police retrieve the girls' phones and find a plethora of information and a number of avenues to investigate. On February 15th, Indiana State Police begin circulating a still image of an individual on the Monon High Bridge. The grainy photograph shows a Caucasian male with his hands in his pockets and head down, walking on the bridge in the direction of the girls. On February 18th, the person in the photograph is named the prime suspect in the double homicide, and police release a sketch of the individual. On February 22nd, law enforcement releases an audio recording of the suspect's voice. The short audio clip also features a somewhat muffled voice saying, "Down the hill." At the same press conference, investigators also officially reveal the source of the photo and audio as deriving from German's smartphone. They further credit Libby as a hero for having the uncanny foresight and fortitude to record the exchange in secret. Police also indicate that additional evidence from the phone had been secured but declined to release it so as to not compromise any future trials. Over the next 2 years, leads come in and suspects are vetted, but no one can identify the man in the photo or the voice in the recording. On April 19, 2019, Indiana State Police announced a new direction in the case. On April 22nd, they released new material to the media. A short video, just over a second long, shows the suspect from the previous released photograph in action this time, walking along the bridge. At the same briefing, Superintendent Doug Carter also releases a complimentary audio clip in which a slight rise in the suspect's voice can be detected as he utters the words "guys" just before the phrase "down the hill." Carter also releases an updated sketch of the suspect. The new sketch looks nothing like its predecessor. It features a clean-shaven individual with a youthful appearance. Investigators make it clear that this individual may be hiding in plain sight and is almost certainly familiar with the Delphi area. Unfortunately, just like the first composite sketch, no one can identify the man in the drawing, and the killer of Abby Williams and Liberty German remains at large. The first person to truly enter the crosshairs of investigators is a man named Daniel Nations. Nations is a 31-year-old man originally from Chesnee, South Carolina, with a long, explicit criminal history. His rap sheet is comprised of relatively minor charges involving failure to appear notices and drug possession, but the strong majority of his crimes are sexual in nature. Daniel has been charged with public masturbation, public indecency, and sexual assault, just to name a few. These charges and their subsequent prosecution put Daniel Nations squarely on the National Sex Offender Registry. When not incarcerated, his inclusion on this list requires that he check in every week with law enforcement and register himself on an in-person basis. Early in 2017, he regularly attends these meetings. He signs a login on the dates of January 31st, February 7th, and February 14th, meaning that the day after the murders of Libby German and Abigail Williams, Daniel Nations was most definitely in the state of Indiana. He will, however, not remain there long after. On September 3rd, 2017, a cyclist named Tim Watkins was found shot to death in Mount Hermon, Colorado. During the investigation, a witness snapped a picture of a suspicious man in a red vehicle who drove past the scene of the crime numerous times. On September 16th, another different man was also cycling on Mount Hermon when he was accosted by a man with a hatchet. He fled the scene and alerted the authorities. A search was enacted to locate the suspect. Soon after, police found Daniel Nations in his automobile attempting to flee the scene, and the cyclist identified him as his attacker. He was also identified as the driver of the red vehicle that the witness had photographed at the scene of Tim Watkins' murder. Inside Daniel's red car, police found a hatchet and a rifle. Nations was not charged in the murder of Tim Watkins, but did plead guilty to threatening the other cyclist with the hatchet. He was sentenced to 3 years probation, but was transferred to Indiana on January 24, 2018, to face charges for failing to register as a sex offender and fleeing prosecution. He was found guilty of these crimes and sentenced to 10 months in prison. During this term, police questioned him regarding the deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German. Daniel insisted that he had nothing to do with the murders. He told police that he looked nothing like the, quote, fat, sloppy man in the sketch, and insisted that he had always kept his hair short and wouldn't be caught dead in a windbreaker and jeans. In February 2018, authorities announced that Daniel Nations was no longer considered an active person of interest in the murder of Abby Williams and Liberty German. On April 19, 2021, a woman in Lafayette, Indiana, phoned police officers to report her 9-year-old daughter missing. When police responded, witnesses in the area reported that a 42-year-old man named James Bryan Chadwell II had told them he saw the girl earlier that day. When police arrived at his home, he told investigators that the girl had been by his house but had already left. Unsatisfied with his account, they searched his residence. They found the missing girl naked in the basement. The purposely unnamed child had been sexually assaulted and was covered in bruises from being bitten by Chadwell's dog. James admitted that in a heavily intoxicated state, he used the dog to lure the girl into his home. Inside, he subjected the girl to an unfathomable amount of abuse. He strangled the girl and told her that he would kill her if she told anyone about what he had done or tried to scream. Lafayette, Indiana is less than 30 kilometers from Delphi, Indiana. Considering the savagery of the assault, Chadwell's chutzpah to abduct a girl in broad daylight, and his geographical proximity to Delphi, investigators naturally considered the idea that Chadwell was involved in the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. And on April 27, 2021, Indiana State Police detectives formally named James Bryan Chadwell II as a new person of interest in the Delphi murders. On October 28, 2021, Chadwell II pleaded guilty to all 7 charges levied against him, including attempted murder, child molestation, kidnapping, criminal confinement, battery with serious bodily injury, and strangulation. As a habitual offender, he faces additional penalties in the case. For his behalf, Caldwell acknowledges that he is obviously aware of German and Williams and knows how he could be considered a suspect in the case. But he says emphatically that he had absolutely nothing to do with the murders in Delphi. On December 9, 2021, Indiana State Police said that they were looking for anyone who had social media contact with someone using the profile name Anthony Schatz from 2016 to 2017. Investigators said that the profile could be connected to the Delphi investigation. The man confirmed to be using the profile during this time was a 27-year-old man named Keegan Anthony Klein. According to police, the 27-year-old from Peru, Indiana, set up this fake social media account using the high school photos of another man from Indiana. The photos belonged to a man named Vincent Kowalski. Kowalski is now a police officer in Alaska, and investigators say that he is also a victim. He has no connection to the online profile, and his photos were stolen for the commission of a crime for illicit purposes without his permission. Klein made use of the Anthony Schatz profile to find underage girls on Instagram. He would then advance the conversation to Snapchat, where a virtual trail is less traceable. Klein received over 100 sexual pictures from approximately 15 different underage girls during his sordid campaign. Kelsey German, Libby's sister, long believed that social media didn't have anything to do with her death. However, after learning about Klein's methodology, she has since reconsidered. She says, quote, "Libby never told me anything about anybody contacting her online. But even if she had told us, or if we would have said something, then she'd have likely kept messaging anyway, because teenagers like to hide things, unfortunately." Keegan Anthony Klein is currently incarcerated. He is awaiting trial on 30 alleged crimes, including child exploitation, possession of child pornography, child solicitation for sexual intercourse, and obstruction of justice. All right, so here is what I think happened. The case of Liberty German and Abigail Williams is absolutely heartbreaking. Two teenagers take advantage of an unseasonably warm day in February and never come home. Think about yourself as a teenager. How many times did each of us do something just like Libby and Abby did that day? And while we were fortunate enough to enjoy these carefree days, unfortunately, these two girls were not. So how did we get here? I believe that on February 13th, 2017, Libby and Abby were lured to this location. The idea that Daniel Nations, James Chadwell II, or some other random perpetrator happened to be in the area at that time and came across the girls merely by chance, for me, is highly improbable. While the property did see some amount of foot traffic, I think it is more likely that a meeting was arranged beforehand than a chance encounter. People are surprised by how much the description of the suspect and the composite has changed over the course of time, and believe that police have no idea what they are doing in their investigation. But I also have a theory in regards to this progression. I believe they released the first composite sketch in response to the man in the video. A reflex response that simply said, the man in the video did it, and here's what we think he looks like. However, I believe that further into the investigation, authorities discovered the girls' troubling online history. I believe that in the weeks before their murders, Keegan Anthony Klein, using the Anthony Shots profile, stumbles across the profile of Liberty German. He makes contact. I believe that the Anthony Shots profile is the inspiration for the second sketch. Police now believe that the image of Vincent Kowalski is the true representation of their killer and commission the second sketch to look as such. But the second sketch is a red herring and takes investigators further away from the truth. The original sketch is the man who was actually behind the account, the man who actually committed the murders, Keegan Anthony Klein. Libby, at first uncomfortable with Klein's correspondence, is enticed by the online suitor's lavish photos and reassured by the man's satisfied demeanor. After getting to know his underage focus, the predator moves the conversation to the more discreet Snapchat medium. On this platform, he arranges to meet the girl at the Monin Bridge on February 13th at 2 p.m. Libby, still somewhat nervous, asks Abby to come with, and emboldened by the accompaniment of her best friend, Libby, agrees to the meeting. Klein has set the trap, but he knows that he is not the good-looking teen in the corresponding profile. Instead, he is an obese 23-year-old fully grown man. Libby will surely not want anything to do with him when they meet in person and his contrivance is exposed. But none of this matters to Klein. His objective is just to get the teen to the location. His malicious agenda has only short-term motivations. Thus, on February 13th, he arrives at the Monin Bridge. He skulks onto the crossover and sees Libby, the girl he has been corresponding with, but Libby has brought a friend. The girls, of course, do not recognize Klein, the frumpy 20-something. They expect an athletic teen and take him for a passerby out for a walk. That all changes when the man produces a gun and tells them. The terrified miners comply and follow the man into the forage. Klein binds the two with rope and proceeds to sexually assault them against their will. After the grotesque interlude, the beast monstrously autographs his design with murder. From close range, he shoots and kills Liberty German. He brings the same fate to Abigail Williams, killing her also with a single gunshot to the forehead. Keegan Anthony Klein has left two innocent girls dead in his outrageous wake. Alone in the Indiana forest, he secretes the gun back into his windbreaker and flees into the barren woodlands. The loss of Libby German and Abby Williams has absolutely gutted the Delphi community. The remaining families of the two girls have been familiarized in the cruelest of ways. They grieve as they pursue justice, all the while keeping the memories of the deeply missed juveniles alive in the public's mind. In August 2017, a non-profit organization called L&A Park Foundation was formed to celebrate and commemorate the lives of Libby German and Abby Williams. A memorial site was established to honor the girls, creating a place for the appreciation of nature, art, play, and athleticism for generations to come. The small-town murders have received widespread international attention, but despite the extensive coverage, the killer to this point has still eluded its spotlight. In response to a request from Liberty German's mother, Carrie, homeowners across central Indiana have had orange lights installed on their front porches to commemorate the girls and demonstrate that their murderer still remains at large. A $325,000 reward is being offered in the case. Thank you so much for listening to the case of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Just before I go, please know that you are a wonderful individual who is capable of good. If you are struggling right now during these trying times for any reason, please remember that we are in this together and you are here for a reason. Please be kind to yourself and all those you come in contact with. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'll see you next time.